Tracy Island's most iconic rescuers are at it again, this time on the Game Boy Advance. And this time we're steering a bunch of actors rather than the kindling and tooth-floss marionettes of the 1960s show. Good news for me, as I used to get freaked out that the puppets had human hands. I can cope with humans with human hands. That's something I have to see every day, and so, I'm okay with it. Before we take a look at this puzzler, let us look at the inspiration for its existence. Jonathan Frakes' directorial foray into the kid-pleasing world of the International Rescue Team. I won't be discussing the history of Thunderbirds here. If you want to see that, go and have a look at the Spectrum video I did last week. Yes, Jonathan Frakes, aka Commander William Riker from Star Trek The Next Generation, helms a very different kind of ship here, swapping the beige interiors of the Enterprise for a director's chair just opposite the British racing green of Thunderbird 2. A talented cast, including Bill Paxton as Jeff Tracy, Sophia Myles as Lady Penelope, Ben Kingsley as the Hood, and a young Vanessa Hudgens as Tintin, star in this sci-fi adventure film that takes a few liberties with the formula of the original series. Most of the Tracy Island family are imprisoned by the Hood for much of the movie, with an aged-down Alan Tracy and Tintin, along with new character Fermat, son of Brains, in this played by Goose from Top Gun, as in Goose is dead, and that's a shame, Anthony Edwards. They take the protagonist roles for much of the movie. They are, though, assisted by Lady Penelope and Parker later on. The emphasis on younger characters was an attempt by the makers to help children relate to the action on screen, though, Thunderbirds have been doing pretty well with adult characters since, about 40 years before. Released in July 2004 on both sides of the Atlantic, Thunderbirds unfortunately managed a rather feeble $28 million return on a budget of $57 million, with the pre-release reviews no doubt helping the film to be about as welcome as an exposed adult penis at a children's birthday party. The aggregated score for Thunderbirds on Rotten Tomatoes is a rather noxious 19%. With publications like Empire bemoaning a lack of the show's signature moments, such as the lack of occasion to the show's very familiar and famous countdown, along with some leaden performances and a rather poor script. Even Jerry Anderson, the legendary show creator, declared that Thunderbirds 2004 was the biggest load of crap that he's ever seen in his entire life. And he waited for it to come out on DVD before he watched it. Ouch. Pretty much the only success for Thunderbirds was the movie's title song, Thunderbirds Are Go, that peaked at number 1 in the UK charts and then scooped Record of the Year. But maybe that was largely down to it being the latest release by Busted. For those with short memories, Busted were that pop band of the time, i.e. the one that made teenage girls whinny like lusty ponies at the mere mention of their names, singing into one end of their hairbrush and frotting feverishly with the other end of it. One of those bands. Moving very quickly away from the image of teenage girls frotting using a hairbrush handle, Thunderbirds 2004 is not to be confused with the earlier Thunderbirds International Rescue, an SCI release for the Game Boy Advance based on the show as opposed to the movie. Thunderbirds the movie was released a month after the movie's release in 2004. Thunderbirds 2004 was published by Vivendi Universal and put together by Sapphire, who you may remember programmed the 80 Days Around the World game that I covered previously. Thunderbirds 2004, as Jimmy Greaves used to say, is a game of two halves. Those halves being an isometric shooter in the style of Zaxxon and a three-quarter viewed variant on the old SNES classic The Lost Vikings. I'm pretty sure Jimmy Greaves never used to say that last sentence, however. The vehicular sections... I like using the word vehicular. That sounds good, doesn't it? It must be said, are pretty woeful. They look like Zaxxon, but they sure don't play like Zaxxon. There are collectibles and wildlife to avoid, and sometimes there are Thunderbirds style objectives such as putting out fires that endanger an oil rig. However, the design is of such a poor standard that they're immensely dull to play, and the collision detection is best described as pulling a tapeworm out of your dog's bum. Terrible. To have the vehicle sections in a Thunderbirds game be the worst bit means, well, we're off to a rollicking start. The vehicle bits of Thunderbirds were the bits that kids actually liked about the show. Well done, Vivendi. Well done, Sapphire. You've screwed the pooch already. If it's the Thunderbirds vehicle bits that you're after, actually good ones, on your Game Boy Advance, please do check out that International Rescue game instead, as it delivers a more varied and competent selection of vehicle stages, and is, you know what, a pretty solid game. It's not amazing, but it's pretty good. The other half of Vivendi's game, though, we're talking about Thunderbirds 2004 here, again, it's getting confusing, isn't it, is stronger. You control the three kid heroes of the tale, Alan, Tintin and Fermat. Alan is the swinging dick stud, all cool action dude, able to jump large distances and push heavy crates. Tintin is also able to leap about with gay abandon, but also has gained similar telekinetic abilities to the Hood and can move items using her mind. That's what telekinesis means, after all. Fermat is a rubbish nerd who rolls through vents like a asthmatic Sonic, and he hacks computers because he's a nerd, and that's what nerds do. By using the abilities of the three in different ways and combinations, you'll be able to clear the 9 stages that stand between you and finishing a handheld game based on a film everyone's forgotten about now, but didn't even care about when it came out. Clearly, Lost Vikings was a major inspiration. That said, the puzzles aren't nearly as fiendish, perhaps due to the limitations of its cast restricting what you can do on the levels to very few options. I do admire the work together conceit, as it matches that of the original series spirit and that of the 2 games I recently reviewed on the Spectrum, but it could have been done much better. A few stages with the kids using the vehicles in a similar way would have been a much better tribute to the source material too. Graphically, it's a bit miserable to look at, with Sapphire going back to the world they went to with 80 Days Around the World, with the digitised looking sprites with the thick black outlines, walking around incredibly drab backdrops. Another issue with Thunderbirds 2004 is that the 9 stages that are here are unlikely to take too long to complete. But I guess they're mildly diverting for a time. It's just that time will be very short. If you are a Game Boy Advance owning Thunderbirds fan, I'd definitely recommend the 2001 International Rescue game over this, but that said, it's not irredeemable, apart from the vehicle bits. IGN gave it a mediocre 5 out of 10 in August 2004, saying it's better than expected, but still not to be considered better than average. Nintendo Power would give it no more than a 42% in their December 2004 issue, saying the flight levels look cool, but the angled view throws a wrench in the piloting works. Game Informer sighed that, like the movie, expect this to fly way below everyone's radar when they reviewed it in October of the same year, meriting it with just a lowly 58% score. And that is Thunderbirds on the Game Boy Advance then, as thrilling as John Tracy's life on that orbiting space station. Poor old John. Why don't they like him? Like, subscribe, and K thanks, bye.